Hi, welcome to another demonstration for the Unitrends System Administration course. In this how-to video tutorial, we're going to take a look at backup copy configuration for both hot and cold targets. We're going to look at the target connections and how to create backup copy jobs. We're also going to review the backup copy job recovery catalogs. How do you get in and start the recovery process and view that your backup copies are successful, they're going to the targets that you're placing them to, and they're running on a timely basis, either on the schedule for the cold or for the configuration based on the hot. Once again, it starts here in your lab or in your environment. You can log in to either your local appliance and your target. You're going to want to open up both of those appliances if you're going to be setting up to a hot target. All right, we're also going to be showing you cold target configuration as well. That can be done from either your local or your hot target directly. That media, once again, has to be connected to that, either the local source or the target. Okay, now, once again, anytime you log into your console, you want to check and make sure you don't have any outstanding alerts, you don't have any errors in your dashboard over here, and you don't have really any active jobs that are really going to mess with anything that you're doing. Now, I do have a cold backup copy job running right here, going off to my cold storage. We're going to show you how I created this and what it's doing in here. Okay, and I also have a hot copy job that's still going to a hot copy target. We're going to show you how you configure that and set this up as well too. So we got these two jobs running here. One's going to a cold target and one's going to a hot target. Once again, we're going to show you how we configure these and set both of these up today. All right, so let's go ahead and start with usually the most common, which is setting up storage to a cold target, right? Going off to either a disk, to the cloud, to a NAS, right, to iSCSI. Usually the most common is going for long-term retention. All right, so one of the first things we have to do whenever we look at configuring to a new target is it starts on the appliance you want to do this on. And once again, we're going to show you how we configure on a local source going off to any kind of storage once again. We're going to create a connection to a NAS in our case here, and we're going to show you how to create a cold backup copy job going off to that NAS storage. Okay, once again, we're on our local appliance under Appliances. We're going to go to the local appliance here on your list. Should be the appliance that you're logged into. All right, we're going to go to our backup copy targets down here at the bottom. And in my case, you'll notice that I've already got two targets already configured. Okay, now we're going to show you first that if you go to add a target, okay, and you definitely want to make sure you're on backup copy targets down here, not local storage. We've shown you in earlier modules how to edit that storage. Okay, but here we want to add a backup copy target, in this case, to either a NAS or attached disk. All right, once again, in the case of a virtual appliance, we can go to attached disk. Now, we have a CIF share that we can go to. We put in our credentials, the IP address, the port, the share name, the password. We save that credential, and it comes out looking like this. That makes a mount point off the appliance that it uses to write archive sets off to. Now, I've already written a bunch of sets off to this media. All right, we've already been using this connection for a few days just to save on time. I'm going to show you how we now can create a backup copy job that goes off to this new connection in here. Once again, this may be to the cloud. It could be to a NAS share over NFS. It could be to iSCSI. We're going to show you here later on how to add an appliance for hot target as well. Okay, here we've got our NAS target set up for cold target. Okay. Now, when we look at setting up a hot target, it's the same concept once again. We go into add a target, but you're usually going to either add a cloud or Unitrends Either you're running your own appliance or a partner's going to have an appliance running somewhere, or you're going to come to us, to Unitrends. They set up very similar. You're going to be provided with a host name and IP address. This is the public name and public address of that machine. Username and password are optional because it's all scripted, as we talked about in the presentation portion of this module. You just have to make sure the prerequisites are set. Make sure you've got ports opened up between both environments. They're firewalled. They're forwarded open for you. All right? And you're going to add this appliance in. Now, before you can add an appliance in like we've done here to this appliance, we need to make sure that that appliance is marked and set to be a target. So over on your target appliance on the other location, or maybe you shipped them both to the same location, you're setting up both appliances first, you're going to seed one over the LAN and then relocate it, like our preferred method was in the presentation as well too. Now, when we look at this process then, to configure a target, you'll look at configuring the appliance that you're logged into, whichever machine is going to be your target. And remember, on Recovery Series, it can be dual personalities. It can be a local backup source and a hot target for other appliances at the same time. Now, virtual appliances, they can't be both, one or the other. We talked about that too in the presentation. On your target appliance, if you edit that appliance under the backup copy section and you enable this appliance to be a backup copy target, so all you have to do is turn this on, leave the IP address default in here, let it use the default OpenVPN settings. Usually they're not in use unless you're already using OpenVPN for something else. If you are, you may have to change this address. But in most cases, this default stuff works in here. You're going to enable this appliance as your backup copy target and just save this setting. That's all you got to do. Enable it and save it. I've already done it, so I'm just going to cancel out here. But just turn that on your hot target. Make sure you're logged in to your target. Once you enable your target to be a target, then you go over to your local, and that's when you can go ahead and add the Unitrends appliance with the exact same name. You want to call it target_UEB or whatever the name of that machine is. It's case sensitive and character sensitive. It has to be exact. It's going to pass certificates that have to be exact in case and character. You're also going to type the open public IP address. Right? In our case, it's an internal address, so we're going to use the local internal address of this appliance, the same address. Even though it's going to use an OpenVPN address between the two appliances underneath, to tie these machines together, we have to have, once again, those prerequisite ports opened up and use the public addresses, and it's going to script the connections between. It's going to script the sharing of the certificates and making that connection in between those appliances. Once again, the usernames and passwords are optional in here. I recommend just leaving them blank. Just put the host name and IP address in of the appliance you want to add to your local source. Now, once again, we've already done that in here, so it made the connection. Now, when you first make the connection, this side's going to say pending. Right? You've only added your target to your local source. Then you'll have to go over to your target, and you'll see your local source here for the very first time, but it's going to say pending. You'll click on that pending icon, and it brings up a prompt that allows you to grant permissions for the local source to send backup copies. Once you grant that permissions, then over here on the other side, after about 10 minutes or so, you'll see this come online. The status will say online. All right, it just takes time. You have to wait through that process. Once again, you'll see it say pending over here. You'll grant permissions to it. Then you can also set remote management so you can just take control of it like I've done. All right, you can also come back once it's all granted, click on it again, and you can allow it to be remote managed. I've already done that. It's very easy to do. In our old legacy interface and beforehand, you either had to know how to do it all manually at the CLI or you had to run the setup wizards. This new way is so much easier. You just have to be patient and wait for it to go from the pending statuses, go through the prompts to allow it, wait for it on the other side to come online. If you have errors over here, you can delete it and try it again. Make sure your ports are all opened up. Make sure it's all the correct ports from inside of the administrator guide. They do change, and they are changing here in the near future for us as well. Once again, we're trying to streamline this process as much as we can to make these machines kind of see each other and be able to replicate to each other. It's pretty easy. Now, once you have your target set up, creating a backup copy job is really similar for both of these kind of targets. Even though they're, once again, one's used for long-term and disaster recovery, that's our cold target, right? And our hot target is used for, once again, that hot off-site recovery. If I have quicker recovery time objectives I'm trying to focus on, then I want to set up to another appliance to go off-site to this hot appliance here. All right. Now, you have to start configuring your backup copy jobs from your local appliance just like you do a backup job. That's what's really cool about the new interface is everything is streamlined for you as an administrator to help keep the times down, the number of clicks down. Just like we created a backup copy job before, we're going to create a backup copy job now. And in that backup copy job, just like we did before, we're going to choose the assets. Now, the cool thing about backup copy jobs is they can be grouped together. You can have one job saying, I want everything all at once, or you can group them in groups. Okay, if you want to say, hey, give me, like we talked about in the presentation, give me the domain controller, give me Exchange, and then I want to archive or I want to make cold backup copies for all of the Exchange databases. So you can build this stuff in sets. Okay, group them however you want to, and then call your groups, Exchange dependencies, Exchange and dependencies. You can do that however you want to. You're going to create a group that goes off to each different media type. So when you go to this next screen, this could be a hot or cold backup copy job. If it's a cold backup copy job, you tell it what backup set, what chain, what group, however you want to call that, right? Do you want the fulls, the incrementals, the differentials, or do you want just the fulls? You get to tell it that backup date range, the set you want to use. You can also set, once again, that purging option. Pay attention to that. We talked about that in the presentation as well. What type of, data storage administration do you want to set across this? Do you want to delete older backups to free space, or do you want to fail it and send you that alert? When do you want it to run? Pretty simple configuration to go off to cold storage. It's scheduled, remember, during low utilization, low backup window times. So if you don't run a bunch of backups during the day, you're going to want to schedule your cold backup copy jobs to run right in the middle of the day, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. They get done by 5 o'clock. The last guy out pulls the drive and takes it off site. You're going to choose that media type here. Right? Once again, it could be a recovery archive unit going off to disk, could be a tape head, fiber channel tape, whatever you have set up in that target configuration once again. Now you give this job a title once again. Now I've already created some jobs in here to go off to cold target. You can see the difference in here. It doesn't say cold target or anything. It just says backup copy. That's why you might want to put the word cold in here or name the storage. Here you can see I'm doing the domain controller in all my databases. That's why this is called domain controller in all app databases. Every morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, this job runs going off to my cold storage. The complete backup chain is kept out there, deleting older backups to free space. It's going to kind of keep track of itself and just kind of purge older ones as it needs to. Once again, every morning at 7 o'clock. Okay, now that job is the job that's running right now. Well, it's actually done. Here you can see that cold backup copy job written off to that media. All right. You can also see the hot copy jobs that have finished up. You can see all of those. All right. Now let me show you how to configure those too, because those are really similar. Once again, you go over in to create that job. Maybe you want to do a group of all of your VMs. Right? So you come in here and you say, hey, send over the RDR, send over VMware, domain controller and Exchange, you put all these things in a group, and you tell it to go to the hot target in here, you'll notice all these settings go away. Okay, now I've already created 3 different groups of hot target jobs here. I like to group mine based on their kind of asset type, maybe their recovery point windows, however you want to group them, whatever makes sense to you to group them. But they can be across different databases, different applications as well. Those are all of my apps, so that's SQL, Exchange, SharePoint, and Oracle. Then I've got groups here for all of my virtual servers. All right, and I also have all of my agent-based backups. All right, these are all my agent-based assets in one hot target job, and these are all my virtual machines in one hot target job. I like to just kind of group mine up based on their asset type. Just helps you manage them rather than having it in one big group, having to funnel through, this list of assets in here. Now, once again, the difference in a hot target job is whenever these backups run, right? If I want to take my SQL backup job and kick another one of these jobs off, this is running a local backup here on my appliance. Now, once these jobs finish up as local backups, the first thing you're going to see is they hit the queue one more time as a hot copy job going to the hot target. It starts to copy this backup to that hot target the minute it finishes as a local backup. We'll sit here for just a second and watch this process. And here you can see the hot copy job starting right away as soon as those local backups finish up there. All right, and over here under our recent jobs, then you can start to see the backups that are starting here, and then eventually those hot backup jobs that are starting to finish, those will go over in that recent jobs list over here as well too once they start to finish up. All right, now the other big difference is, remember that cold storage job, that cold target job here, because it's scheduled, you can see once again the next ran and last ran, right? You can always manually run this job anytime you want to based on the current settings. You don't have to wait until this scheduled time if you don't want to. It will run again at 7 o'clock in the morning. Again, even if I click run right now, it would just run now, just like I did here about a half an hour, 45 minutes ago. All right, let's show you next how to really look at the recover catalogs, how to tell the difference on an appliance, the difference between a cold catalog and a hot catalog, and how some of this stuff works. Now, remember that when you first come into your recovery catalog, it assumes the quickest recovery possible, which is from your local or imported backups. And we're going to show you how to import a backup. So you see one right now, but right now I don't have any new imported backups yet. So really what I'm looking at is all of my local backups. And that's our quickest recovery. That's your default view. And that's the same on your target, by the way. So you kind of have to watch out for this, because once you invoke remote management, you're now looking at your local backups remotely through the target. So don't be fooled by this. We're going to show you how to really work with these so you understand these filters and how these catalogs work. Okay, now once again over on your local appliance here, all right, if you want to go and look at a cold catalog, you have to make sure you once again filter for a cold catalog, and then you'll be able to see what's off on cold storage. You'll notice it's a light kind of cold color. It reminds me of, frozen water or cold water. All right, it's a nice cold color, and that's a cold backup copy. That means it's sitting off on media or it's on a NAS tape, right? It's a cold archive copy. Now, on the target over here, you can filter on a hot copy job, and you'll start to be able to see the jobs that are off on the target that you can restore over here off the target, and you'll notice these jobs are purple in color. They're sitting on the hot target, ready for recovery on the target. But once again, remember the secret over here is I need to make sure that at the asset level on my target appliance that I have a SQL server registered to my target appliance. So I need to make sure if I add an asset, I want to add it to the target so the target can see the SQL server so it can restore the databases through the agent. If there's no agent registered on my target to go to SQL, to go to VMware, then my target cannot restore from that catalog. Right? But you can get to these catalogs just like you can get to a local catalog. You can get to a local backup catalog. You can get to a hot catalog here as well. And all this recovery is here. But once again, if I try to recover this domain controller back to an environment, the first message I'm going to see over here is that I don't have VMware registered to my target. All right. So to start doing recovery off of my target, I would need to go to Protected Assets, register a virtual host of VMware off the target. I'm going to register to my VMware environment here. And we'll make this connection. So now we've got a host connected to our target here, which means that if I go back to my recover catalog and I filter on my hot catalog here, and now if I go back to a virtual VMware snapshot, and I have one down here on my domain controller, I can now recover this domain controller. You'll now notice in here that I can go and restore this virtual machine to this ESXi host that's registered now off of my target. You can also highlight any virtual guest and now start to do VM instant recovery as well too to that same target environment. Even auditing machines, making sure that you can recover, these guests, even auditing machines off-site, through this recovery DR process. This makes it extremely easy. Maybe you want to rename this thing instead of restore, you want to call it audit. Just like we showed you in the VMware Restore module. Make sure you allocate instant recovery storage space as we pointed out to you. But now over here in my virtual environment, under the No Backups area, you're going to see a new virtual machine show up here in just a few minutes. You're going to see it create a new data store out here. This data store is for instant recovery. That's where the virtual disk reside once again. It's going to create that machine using processor and memory from this host, using the VMDKs off this instant recovery spot. Once again, this is all from hot backup copy jobs that have been replicated and copied to my offsite target, my hot target. Once again, filtering on the hot backup copy job. All right, now, if I want to recover from one of these cold jobs, remember this is a two-phase process where I have to re-import this back first. So let's say I need to come back from my latest full off of storage. Let's bring our domain controller back here. And we're going to bring this domain controller back from the 22nd of March. Now, you'll notice up here that when I highlight a cold job, you'll notice that the import to source button shows up here. Remember, this is phase one in recovering from cold storage, is that we're going to recover this backup off of the media. So once I click import down here, this media has to be connected. If this were sitting on a removable disk, I would have to go and pull this disk out and put it back in the unit before I clicked import to the source here. Now, it does tell you in this job where this is located. So if I want to re-import this to the source from inside of here, I can see what storage this is connected to. I would see what disk, what serial number, what tape, what barcode. I would see that information in here in this detail. Right? The NAS is already connected. We're going to go ahead and import this back. Importing backup copies successfully started. After all recovery jobs are complete, please return to the recovery page and look for the imported backups. Now we can go to the view jobs over here. Here's the active jobs. It looks like it's already done. It's a very small job, by the way. It doesn't take very long to run that. Right now, once again, if I go to the recovery tab and I filter on just imported backups this time, I should see a new imported full right here. You can see it's a darker blue color now. Now, the import to source button doesn't show up, but now all of the normal recovery options show up for this type of backup. I can do that same VM instant recovery over here off the local backups in the same options, But maybe when I'm doing this DR audit test, I want to call this cold storage audit. Maybe I want to call this cold storage audit. This one I brought back from a disk, from a NAS, whatever it is, and I'm doing 2 audits at the same time here, instant recovery. You can really start to see how powerful and how cool this is. It's going to use the same instant recovery storage, but now you're going to see that it's going to create another share out there to another set of VMDKs for this machine. Once again, both of these machines are recovering out here in audit mode, which means that the network cards are disabled. They're not interrupting my live domain controller at all. And both of these machines, when they're up and running after their audit modes, you can go in and view these screens. This machine's up just like the regular machine. Make sure you tear down these machines once they're done. All right, this is the cold storage audit right here. It's going through its boot process. This could be a database for SQL, Exchange. It could be a file level full through the agent that you have to do an integrated bare metal on, and then you're going to restore the databases. Right? It's so powerful and so cool to be able to recover these, and we make it so simple and easy to be able to do this. Now, once again, just as a reminder, we've now created 2 instant recoveries. One off of our local source through the cold storage we want to tear down. Right? Anytime you're done with your audit, make sure you tear those down. And on our hot target now here, we've also created an instant recovery from the hot target, which is our audit here. It's the first one we did. Now, we've enabled remote management, so from here I can do both. I can see and manage both. Now, we want to tear down the audit one as well, too. Now, eventually they'll disappear from here, but it's already started to go through the commands of removing these machines. You can see the cold storage one we did first. It's already powered off and deleted, and there goes the audit one. Once those are done from this backside, you'll see them disappear from the Unitrends interface as well, too, from inside of Satori. But very easy to recover those. You'll now see on your dashboard some new, if you have the plugins turned on or the tiles turned on for recovery and things like that, you would be able to see your recoveries going up and down depending on how many recoveries you did. All right. Once again, you can refresh that and refresh your dashboard so you can start to see the number of restores you've done. All right, so that's a pretty good overview for hot and cold backup targets.